Hello and welcome to episode 508 of Ferg on the Freak. I'm that bloke from Rugby League Project, Andrew Ferguson. You can find me on Twitter at AndrewRLP. Joining me as always is the healthy and virulent LeagueFreak. You can also find on Twitter at LeagueFreak. How you going there, mate?
I'm going very well, Andrew. How are you?
I'm fine.
Excellent. That's fantastic.
I'm fine. I can't complain. I feel like I should be complaining because, I'm a Tigers fan, but
yeah,
I still no.
You've got nothing to complain about really anymore, do you, as a Tigers fan? Like, everything's looking rosy. Everything's looking up.
Can we just say that the Tigers beat every single NRL team's absolute best side ever on the weekend?
Yeah.
So pack it up 2024. You're fucking done.
Yeah.
Hope you enjoyed that reign with 3 straight premierships there, Panthers fans. Kick back and put your feet up and watch the Tigers show you how it's done.
Which is the most successful moment in the game's history?
Last weekend?
Yeah, I was going to say, is it last weekend? Because I think there's last weekend, right, with the Tigers. There's Parramatta winning the Nines title a number of years ago. I know it was stripped off them, but still. We had St Helens winning a trial match last year. They were very excited about that. And I think it's between those three personally.
Well, I mean, the St Helens one ended up being the start of their downfall.
Yeah, well, it was the highlight of their whole year. It was in February.
Because they didn't win the premiership at the end of the year. Did they even make the grand final? I don't think they did.
No, they didn't.
There you go. So, I mean, but they packed it up after that trial match. But
they were really good in February, and that's what you want out of a rugby league team.
That's the Saints thing, isn't it?
We've got another one of those trial matches coming up this weekend.
Yeah.
Over in England. Fucking the Panthers. Have you seen any of the stuff that's like, it's been very low key. I think it's because Wigan fans have actually done it properly before. They kind of treat these games the way they're meant to be treated. Like, it's not the greatest moment in the history of planet Earth winning a game in February to Wigan fans because they've won so many other real shit. And Penrith flew over a few days ago. They got there and they checked out Manchester City's ground and their training facilities and stuff. And it's going to be played on England Saturday night, 7 degrees, and it's going to rain, which will be probably really good conditions for Northern England at this time of year.
So the fans will be out in their bathers.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
16 layers of sunscreen.
Pretty much. But, it's been sold out for a while, but I think it's interesting to see Wigan fans and how they look at the game compared to, fans of other clubs that have been involved in it where they kind of lost their minds. Like, Wigan fans are kind of cool about it, which is interesting to see.
Yeah. There was an interesting discussion, briefly, I'll admit, on Twitter during the week about how come English clubs take the World Club Challenge more seriously than Australian ones do?
Yeah.
And I thought about it for a while, in all seriousness, and I think it comes down to the fact that it's not just a World Club Challenge thing. In England, I'm talking basically stats related here, okay?
Yeah.
Is they consider basically every single game that you run out in your team colours for as an officially recognised appearance for your club.
Yeah.
So Challenge Cup, 1895 Cup, all those other cups they've had during the years, everything. All those games, even games against touring sides, they all count as an appearance for your club in your official stats. And it also counts as an official appearance by that club in all of their data as well.
Mm-hmm.
In Australia, we only count games played in the Premiership and nothing else.
Yeah.
And because of that, I think that is a mentality. And it's been there since 1908 in Australia. It's been that way from that time. And I think that's what it is. So we see the games in the Premiership as the most important games you'll play, and everything else is just an exhibition game. Even the AMCO Cup and stuff like that. How many people can sit there and tell you who's won the most AMCO Cup premierships titles?
Yeah.
No one. But Challenge Cup over in England, people will know the answer to that. And that's kind of what I'm getting at. And so I think that's what it comes down to, is that we've never taken games outside of the Premiership as seriously as England has. And I personally think that we should be in Australia. That's one thing where I do agree with the English model. I think that we should be counting games outside the Premiership towards a player's record and to a club's record as well. It's not like they didn't play them.
This isn't just something that we do in Australia. Like that's an outlook that they also use in sports in the United States. So there's even a question mark over there whether in the NBA playoffs, if the play-in games that so in the NBA playoffs, the top 8 seeds from each conference advance, right? Mm-hmm. But they made it so that it went to basically 10. And so you had teams 7, 8, 9, and 10 would play against each other to end up in the playoffs.
Right.
And those games, there's only 2 of those games. I don't think they count them as playoff games, and the points and stuff and everything in those games don't count towards your career record or as towards your playoff statistics either. They're sort of just off into the ether. So we're not the only place that does it that way.
No, but to me it does seem nuts. Because I mean, even in England, they don't include trial games, obviously. Even games that they declare as friendly. So in World War One, they had, I think, 4 straight seasons there where they still played competition football, but they were not official competition games. They were all declared as friendly games. So they're not included as official matches, and none of the appearances and data and stuff like that for those games are declared as official either. They're all just declared as friendly exhibition games. But when it comes to finals and stuff like that, like what the NBA is doing, that's not a friendly game. It's not an exhibition game. It's actually determining who's in the playoffs. That should be included as an actual official appearance.
I think it should be included as a playoff appearance for sure.
Absolutely. It's not in the regular season, is it? It's not part of the 82 games they play for the rest of the year.
No. But I think that a lot of it comes down to your culture of where these games are being played. And, you know, they've got a different culture about the rugby league over in England, and we've talked about some of the differences before in terms of like the number of games they play. You know, there's all these different trophies you can win, stuff like that. I mean, they've only really just embraced the grand final method of working out your champion probably in the last 10 years, where it's become something that has become the norm over there and not this weird new thing that they're trying to get used to. Whereas over here, like having that ultimate day at the end where you get a champion, that going back a very long way, even when we used to not have to have a grand final, there was always this thing of like, oh man, we really should work this out. And eventually they did, so that we always have a grand final. So I just think it's a cultural thing, to be honest with you.
Plus, I suppose too, the English rugby league system obviously is moulded on the rugby union one, which was moulded on soccer.
Yeah.
So they do the same thing over there. Every game they've got different cups and leagues and all sort of stuff, and all those games all count.
And they've also got this situation over there where it's not been an unusual occurrence where you'd have, say, a team like Wigan would end up playing like Barrow, you know. Whereas over here, can you imagine if a team like, let's say, the Panthers ended up playing, I don't know, the Tigers up in
the Wagga Kangaroos or something?
Hey?
The Wagga Kangaroos.
Yeah. I mean, you'd be hard-pressed to find anyone in Australia that would say, yeah, that should be an official Panthers appearance on a player's record. Over in England, that sort of game is, it happens. It's not like it's a rare occurrence. But over here, I would wonder how many times the Panthers have played a non-top grade opponent ever. It would be very, very rarely. And, they're not counted as official stats. And I like it that way. I prefer it that way. but I can also see the other side of it as well.
Well, I can tell you if they've played teams that are outside the premiership.
Oh, go on, tell me.
They played Wentworthville in the Craven Mold Cup.
When was that?
That would be in the 1970. There you go.
Wow.
Penrith won 34-7.
I was gonna say, did they beat them? Because Penrith were terrible back then.
Let's see. They play in the Panasonic Cup, Northern Division, Western Division, Auckland, the rep team, a Brisbane rep team, Central Districts, Illawarra rep side, New South Wales Country, Brisbane club side, past Christian Brothers, the Riverina rep side, Ryde Eastwood, and South Logan. Anybody else here? Bradford, St Helens, and Wigan.
Yep.
Is there anybody else? South Logan.
Did we?
Warrington,
I was going to say, yeah, because we've got
Hunter. That was in the World Club Challenge.
Yeah, because the Panthers have a winning record against every English side they've played except for Wigan.
Yeah. Will they change that? Let's get into it.
Oh, look, who knows? Like they had a meeting, or they're going to have a meeting with the Rugby Football League to talk about the rules that they're going to apply to the game. We all remember what the Rugby Football League did to Tonga. I asked today on Twitter if there's a market anywhere where you can bet on how many sin binnings a team will get during the game, because I think Penrith will have 2 sent off. I'm not even joking, Andrew. They'll have someone sent off, but they'll probably have 2. And, we all know what this game is. It's fucking exhibition game.
You know what they should do, though? If they're going to play it under the Super League rules.
Yeah.
Right? If 2 Penrith players get sent off.
Yeah.
And tried before the Super League judiciary.
Yeah.
And so they get 3 game suspensions each.
Yeah.
It should be 3 Super League games each.
Just Super League. Well, you know what? I saw fucking English fans, and there wasn't many of them, but there were some of them where they were saying, because there was an English player that got let off from wasn't a bad spear tackle, but it was one of those ones where he could have got a week maybe, but he ended up getting let off. And there were people that were saying, if he had have got suspended, they should have only let him get suspended for a Super League game and not this game, because it's kind of like an international game, and I fucking hate all that shit. Like, I hate it that we had people saying that there were players that should have been able to, NRL players that should have been able to have their bans assessed for international games that they weren't able to get selected in because they were banned, so that they could take part in the fucking games in Las Vegas. I just think you've got to play a straight bat to bans, and it's like, if you get banned from your next game, you miss your next game. It doesn't matter who it's against, doesn't matter what level it is, that should be it. And when people start playing fast and loose with that shit, like, what are the bans for? What do we have them for? If you can just pick and choose when you take your fucking ban, it's ridiculous.
It is. So, do you think Penrith can end their 33-year losing streak against Wigan?
Yeah, that's funny. Well, yeah, obviously. I mean, they're a much better team than Wigan. Player for player, they're a better team. It's just obvious. But we've seen what happens in these games, and I expect it will happen again. As I said, if I can get a bet on with a betting agency somewhere, I'm betting on the Panthers having 2 players sin binned.
Can I ask you a question about these Panther sides? The 2 that have played against Wigan.
Yes, this one and the 91 team, yeah.
That's right, yeah. Just want to talk about the spine for both.
Okay.
Which one's got the better spine? So just as a refresher, the 1991 World Club Challenge Panther side had the spine of Greg Bowick at fullback.
Yep.
The halves were Steve Carter and Greg Alexander, and the hooker was Roy Simmons. This was actually Roy Simmons' last game. A lot of people think it was the 91 grand final. It was actually this game.
Can you imagine how fucking, like we know Roy Simmons never bought a beer for himself for about 35 years since that grand final. And they went over really quickly after they won the grand final.
Yeah, and they also went into the game without Brad Fittler, Cole Bentley, Mark Geyer, and Barry Walker.
Yeah, yeah. But can you imagine how Royce Simmons was feeling at that point?
Drunk.
Man.
He'd been absolutely shit-faced.
It's kind of shocking he played.
Because it was the 2nd of October in 91 that they played that game.
Yeah, yeah. Like they went straight over. And look, they lost that game. That's a flat out, that's one of the real ones. That's the thing about Wigan. They've won these games when they're real games.
Yeah, so that Wigan side was nuts.
Yeah, it was crazy. It was like basically the Great Britain team. It was incredible.
Well, their spine was Steve Hampson at fullback, Sean Edwards and Andy Gregory in the halves, and Martin Dermott at hooker.
And they played it at Anfield. Yeah,
in front of 20,000 fans.
Yeah. If that one, look, I love that halves combination, Alexander and Carter. That's if they were in the NRL right now, they'd be the best halves combination, I dare say.
I'm just trying to think. Yeah, I probably would rate them above the current Panthers halves.
Mm-hmm.
I'd have Dylan Edwards ahead of Greg Barwick, though.
Oh, definitely. Yep.
But I think Royce is probably going to be ahead of, I keep forgetting his name, Mitch Kenny.
Yep.
Because Mitch Kenny isn't a genuine hooker. He's filling in, basically. He's doing a good job in that role, but Royce was a genuine hooker.
Yeah, New South Wales player.
Mate, he lined up for rest of the world, which meant there was no one better than him in the world.
Yeah, true. But those games don't count as internationals, Andrew.
No. Royce is fine with that too.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He's fine with that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just saying other players might not be.
Probably only one or two.
Yeah. It's all right. 49's still pretty good. It's not 50, but still.
No, it's not 50. But I mean, it's 49 more than I played.
Yeah, that's true.
Not 50 more than what I played.
It's not 50, though, yeah. 50's a very exclusive club. Everything else is not 50.
That's right. I mean, everything else is in that group categorized between 1 and 49, isn't it?
Just a fucking regular test player, really, aren't you? With a shitty moustache. But
just just a little bit more.
It's interesting to line the two teams up. I think that the two things to remember, I guess, is that we kind of know where those 91 Panthers players ended up, and obviously the things they did for the rest of their careers do weigh on how you think about those players looking back at them. Whereas for most of these Panthers players, they're towards the halfway point of their career. So, like, in 10 years from now, we might look back and be saying, oh, my God, can you remember when we said that, these halves were better than those halves and, Cleary ended up winning 15 premierships and blah, blah, blah. Like, it could end up something like that, or he might not win another one. Like, you never know.
This is right.
I'm saying 15.
15. All right.
Conservatively, yeah.
Now, let's do a bit of Tigers chat.
Okay.
But this is Happy Tigers chat.
Oh, nice.
Just for a bit of change.
They folded, hey?
Let's start with David Nofaluma.
Okay, excellent.
Let's ease ourselves into the stupid fucking comments with the dolt first.
Okay.
He basically said he got sick of losing.
Yeah, that's understandable.
It's interesting though.
Yeah.
That to be sick of losing. In 2021, when the club had been 10 years without a finals appearance, he signed a 4-year deal.
Yeah, that's true.
How come he was sick of losing?
Look,
only 2 years later, the 10 years prior to that, he wasn't sick of losing. He was quite fine with it.
Yeah, he was cool with it. But then eventually it wore him down, right? And he just got to a point over the last couple of months where he just couldn't face another losing effort. So where did he sign to?
He's gone to one of those most successful clubs in England.
Yeah.
Yeah, Salford.
Well, there you go, David. It's where he belongs.
Well, to be honest, he probably belongs at Bradford.
Yeah. He belongs at one of those clubs where it's like, did we get paid? We did get paid? Cool. Another week of training.
Are we ever going to be in Super League again?
Yeah.
When did Salford last win a First Division title?
I'm just going to guess. I don't know this. I'm going to guess a specific year. I'm going to say 56.
That's a bit harsh. It's been since then.
Okay. 72.
You're getting much closer.
78.
75, 76. So they haven't won anything since he's been alive.
I wonder if, like, officially, I'm pretty sure they've died since then. I'm just saying, like, you know how Souths died?
Yeah. I think they might have done. Let's have a look. I can't check on you. It's possible that they did. I mean, they went down a few divisions for a while.
Yeah, they did. And it's fine.
They're in second division in 2008.
Yep.
So you probably, it's a great team to be at. Last year they finished 7th.
Do you ever remember the Rumours? It was it's such a silly time. Is it the sort of time where if you got a few friends together, you probably could have bought the club? Where they were saying that they were going to make an offer to try and get Shane Webke and Darren Lockyer. Like, do you remember that?
Was this last week?
No.
What did they can afford that?
This was like when they were.
Hang on, was that during the
best?
Was that during the years when that millionaire took over from him?
No, it was before that even.
Oh wow.
Yeah. It was when it was completely insane.
Because when that bloke turned up, I forgot his name.
Marwan Kokash, was that how you say it?
Marvin Kokash, is that it?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, that's right. When he turned up, he's just gone, right, we're buying everyone.
Yeah.
But wasn't buying the right people everywhere all the time. Oh, that didn't work out. Sack them, go and buy them all, bring them all in. We'll give everyone a go.
Yeah,
and it had an air of Parramatta early mid-90s about it.
Yeah, true. I think like most people, like he sat on the club for a little bit and then sacked everyone basically and got some people in that advised him poorly. And we've seen that happen a bunch of times in English rugby league. You get someone in that, you know, their resume in England suggests that, you know, and I think of someone like a Brian Noble, you know, you get someone like him, his record looks fantastic on paper. You get him in to advise you about the club. Turns out he doesn't know shit. You know, and there's plenty of them like that.
Oh, yeah.
Brian McDermott, he's another one.
So I'll go back to Nofaluma. He said here, and this is an awful good piece of revisionist history, I must say.
Okay.
It really started when I stopped being included on members' days. I could just sense an aura that they didn't want me to be there. I didn't want to go back from Melbourne, and that's where it started. I'll tell you what. If you decide that Melbourne is where you'd rather be, wow. I made it clear to the club that I didn't want to come back. I know that it was only a loan, but I think that played a part in it. When I left for Melbourne, I thought I left for good.
I think that's him being really honest, though. Like,
yeah, but also very stupid because he couldn't have looked at Melbourne and gone, yeah, Bellamy will keep me in that side because of my work ethic.
Yeah, well, that's the first thing. The second thing is, like, he should have realised with the amount of money he's on and how long-term his contract was, that Melbourne wasn't going to say, yeah, we'll take on that contract and you can stay here. That was never, ever going to happen.
No, definitely not. So he's saying here that he made it clear to the club that he didn't want to be there, which is just weird because he's also complaining about the fact that he wasn't included in members' days after the Melbourne thing. I don't know. It just seems like it was a mutual thing. And that's a common theme because Justin Pascoe had an interview recently with James Graham.
Oh, nice. What did he say?
Well, the first quote we've got here is, the article on Fox Sports says, "Just too challenging." But he says here, "I'd actually drafted a resignation letter back in June or July."
Okay.
You can't sack me because I quit.
Yeah.
It was just becoming too challenging for me, not having the line of authority. Just let that sink in for a bit. What was his position again?
CEO.
Line of authority to do what I wanted to and with speed.
Well, I mean, he was there before the hat turned up.
Mm-hmm.
He was there a long time before the hat turned up.
Mm-hmm.
And he was the CEO.
Mm-hmm.
And he was the CEO for a very long time at the time. Like, when was he going to feel like he was in charge?
Who's the authority at the West Tigers if it's not him?
Yeah, it's him and the chairman, really, and the board. Like, obviously the board appoint the CEO, but this guy's been a CEO for there longer than I would suggest most of the board members were even there. Like, and he his job was never under any threat.
No.
What the hell?
I sent that letter to a couple of the board members who said not to do it then and there and to keep going. There were lines of authority and delegations that didn't always give the CEO full control over everything. It was just becoming too frustrating that not everyone can stay in their lane, and my frustration is preventing me from doing the job I think I could be doing. I just wanted the chance to be given that job to the best of my ability.
When was this going to kick in? He wasn't there for 3 weeks. He wasn't there for 6 months. He was there for years and years and years.
Oh, my God.
If only he could have done his job, Andrew.
There were people in my way.
Yeah. Man, every time I tried to do my job, someone just stepped on my toes for 8 years.
I had all these authority figures that were above the chief executive officer.
Yeah. I'd want to go and get this play, but then there'd be the coach, and then there'd be the fucking chairman.
Oh, one day the ball boy complained.
Oh, I went to get a hot dog, they ran out. I just couldn't get on the front foot.
Even one day I had to go in the queue at Leichhardt Oval to go to the toilet.
Is this the same guy that plastered his fucking 5-head across that stupid show that showed how dysfunctional the entire club was to every single person that watched it? This guy that pranced around and pretended he was king shit. Now all of a sudden he's saying, well, I never really got a chance to fucking lead.
Yeah, it was that documentary where while everyone else was struggling and fire was burning everywhere, he was out trying to give a jump at a Harry Triggerbob.
Yeah. You won't believe who won the raffle. It was one of our sponsors.
It was Harry again. Oh my God. He says, I took the role knowing I needed to be accountable for everything. Other people may have said it's not just missing the tackles, but I never said that. I always said I was responsible for what happens on the field and off the field.
No, he didn't. Do you remember us having fucking podcasts where this guy would come out and say it's not about our results, it's about our books?
Yep. What would frustrate me is things like Isaiah Papali'i, a great signing. I don't know what he's trying to get at there. Is he trying to take credit for that? I mean, it's part of your job.
Yeah.
But when people deemed they weren't a good signing, people said, oh, Justin did that. But when it was a good signing, it was never Justin did that.
Okay, stop. Andrew, we need to stop. Let's go through the best signings the West Tigers have made over the last, let's say, 10 years.
Should I open up a list here?
Get your list open.
I'll have to get the list open.
Okay, open the list.
It's going to be extensive. Let's be honest.
Number 1, Isaiah Papali'i. Good signing. Played really well for them. Number 2, Api Coruscant.
Yeah.
Good signing. Number 3.
I'm going to go with, even though I don't know if he played any first grade, but Stefano Utikamanu.
Okay.
Big front row. I mean, he was added to the Origin as the 18th man a year or two ago, and he's been the only genuinely strong ball running forward in the club for years.
But was he a signing or was he a junior?
No, we got him from Parramatta.
Okay. Yeah, that's fair then.
Jesus fucking Christ.
What about No, there'll be someone. We're missing someone.
Dane Laurie?
Let's add him to the list. Let's be
okay.
on. Let's add him
Hang
to
on.
Dane Laurie.
Do we count Robbie Farah and Benji Marshall?
No, you can't really add them. You can't.
Well, we signed him from another club, though.
I know, but like...
Help me out here.
I know. You kind of haven't... They were always going to come back.
Luciano Lailua?
Yeah, let's be generous.
Let's be generous.
That's the word I've been reaching for the last 5 minutes.
Alex Twal, who we also signed from Parramatta. No. Oh boy, I'm going back through the years here, so I'm backing out of 2017. I'm looking at.
Yeah.
Jordan Rankin.
See, that's the thing. When I think of the best players the West Tigers have signed, and I'm like, no, that was 2001. No, that was 2004. No, it's a long time ago. And I'm not talking about great players either. I'm talking about some like Jason Moody.
I'm still going back. Martin Tapau. We got him from Canterbury. He actually wasn't too bad at the Tigers.
Yeah, throw him on the list.
Wow. Brace the Duster.
That's, that was one that was it. I thought it was maybe too long ago.
The other thing, I'm back to 2013. I'm trying to find, there's been a lot of signings.
Yeah.
And the only other one since then that actually did work out well was Lottie Takuri, and that's 2010.
Yeah, I mean, Lottie Takuri, Oh, what about that winger from England that used to wear the number 11 on his back?
Oh, he was 2009.
Yeah, that would be before.
That was the same year we brought John Skandalis back.
Oh, what about the heavily self-censored Bateman?
What about him?
I know. Yeah, you're right. I'm trying to think of people they signed.
Let me sum up Bateman's first season at the West Tigers last year.
Go on, do it.
Right, get the ball on the edge, panic like fuck, and just before he gets tackled, throw it to the ground somewhere, and then yell at the person next to him who didn't get near it because they didn't know he was going to get the ball passed to him. And then watch people run around him on the outside. It's a fucking great season by Bateman.
How about he randomly puts a kick in on the third on his 30-metre line and the opposition knocks it on and the commentators go, great kick, what a great player. And you just want to burn everything to the ground. Yeah, you're right. He's a terrible signing. I was trying to be really generous though. Like I'm started thinking about just who they'd signed.
Yeah, it's been rough.
Yeah, that is rough. That is really rough.
A lot of their signings have been, we've discussed in the past, it's been panic buys at the end of the off season because that's all that's left.
Yeah.
It's kind of like when you're playing NBA Live and your cap's at the max and all you can get is the rookies that are available or whatever 58-year-old players still want to keep playing on minimum contracts, and that's all you can get. Yeah. That's the Tigers. Ping, ping, ping.
It's like, oh, yes, finally, Damian Lillard. Oh, he's 39 now. Damn.
Vince Carter. Yeah. Oh, he's 47. He'll be okay. He could be our centre.
It's, yeah. He should not have boasted about the signings that he made because they were for the most part.
We've basically just proven that the criticism that he got was deserved.
Yeah, 100%.
And you shouldn't be sitting there sooking about it.
Yeah.
That's your job.
Yeah. Yeah.
Something happens at the club that was a positive. It was, club's going well. When it was a negative, Justin. Wow. His victim complex on this guy is fucking off the charts. Wow. I'm glad to hear that he's suffering. It's been a miserable time for him. And just, if you're listening, Justin, it was all your fault.
Yes.
You were shit. And the good things that happened had nothing to do with you. We can pretty much prove this with facts and figures. They were flukes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? You didn't do anything good. You were shit. So, bye.
Don't let the door hit you on the ass on the way out.
I don't mind if the door hits him on the ass on the way out, and I don't mind if someone chases him with the door and just keeps whacking him over the head while he's on the way. Just to make sure. But yeah, that was it's kind of funny, since the Hat and the Spud left.
Yeah.
Haven't really heard too much about the Tigers in the media.
Yeah, it's strange that, hey. There's been a couple of whinges out of the people that leave the club, and that seems to happen, a fair few times where a club gets, dragged through a terrible moment in its history. It gets cleaned out, and then those people that were the problem, they go to the media and they start, trying to change the narrative of what happened, which is what Pasco's done here.
And look, if you think about it, if you've been sacked or cut for not being up to task inside the worst club in the competition, you're not going to find another club.
No.
So you're best to just shut your fucking mouth and figure, let's go over and play in some League One over in England and try and work my way up to second division where I obviously belong.
Yeah, exactly.
So my next question is, how long will it take Salford to drop Nofaluma into second division? Will they just hand him over to Swinton or someone?
Man, wouldn't that be interesting? Being a winger over in England, coming from Australia, if he's not prepared because you can't play the same way you did over here because if you can, as I've said, the joke, if you can see the sideline, you're already over it. So you've got to play a different sort of way. And so I can see adjusting as a winger being more difficult than it seems. The good thing is he will be marked by English wingers who don't know what the fuck they're doing. So that's a good thing.
Much like him.
Yeah, pretty much.
The other thing too with English players, especially backs, you tend to find they've got to be more versatile. So if you're playing in the centres, you will also be asked to play in the second row. If you play at the wing, you will often be asked to play at fullback.
Yeah.
Halfbacks, 5'8", all end up having to play hooker and vice versa. They all shift around those roles. So you don't end up, and this is part of the problem you find with a lot of English rugby league, you don't end up with people who are outright brilliant at one position because too often they've been moved around to cover other roles.
Yeah.
And so no one gets to nail down absolute skill in one role. And that's been part of a problem they've had over there for a while, in my opinion anyway. Because you won't find a single player that's spent 90% of their career in one position over there. And if you do, it's very rare.
Yeah. And it's interesting sometimes you look at a player and you feel like they're in the wrong position, It's going to be...
how do you think Nofaluma would go playing a fullback?
Look, over there he'll probably go okay. I don't think he'll be better than okay.
All he'll have is good kick returns and nothing else.
Yeah, it's going to be a come down from him because he has a feeling about the sort of player that he is, and I understand where he gets that feeling from. But man, he's over there now and he's playing for Salford, and it's going to be a come down for him, and it's going to be interesting to see how he handles that. Hopefully, he pulls it all together and plays well for them. But it's in his hands now, and he's made a move that he is saying is the move he wanted to make. So he has no one else to blame at this point if it doesn't go in a good direction.
Yeah, he does. Just like Benji. I've got one more news item here.
Yeah.
Prime Minister Anthony Albanese backs expansion bids for PNG, North Sydney Bears and Newtown Jets as part of the 20-team league. Has he taken over from PVL? And is that a move in the right direction?
Man, he's backed some losers, this guy. And I don't like when this thing come out, I was like, they just said to him, like, go out and just say yes to everything. Because it was so dumb. It was so utterly dumb. Probably in the top 10 smartest things that he said as a prime minister, though, but still very dumb. The North Sydney thing is... Sorry.
I was just going to say, I can't believe we're still harping on this North Sydney thing.
Yeah, it's goofy. It's fucking goofy. And the PNG thing is weird because there's a lot of problems in PNG right now with violence that's going on. So I think that's why we're hearing a little bit less about PNG, and I think that it's probably they're hoping that it all, settles down a bit so they can ramp up the talk of PNG again. But, if you had to pick a winner right now, it's going to be Perth and another New Zealand team because
they're going to want that other time zone.
Yeah, I think so. I think that other time zone's perfect for rugby league.
Bloody oath it is.
And New Zealand, I reckon you could put a team together for New Zealand in the next couple of weeks and it wouldn't be terrible. Be better than the Tigers.
You're starting low. Would they be better than Salford?
Oh, yeah, they'd be better than Salford. North Balloon wouldn't get a run for them, put it that way.
That's true. Who would make a better boss for the NRL, Albanese or PVL?
Oh, PVL 100%. Fucking Albanese, he's not very good at anything.
Oh, man. There's talk that PVL's going to get a extension for his current gig too.
He did. It's official. He's got a 3-year extension of his contract, which he said he doesn't know if he'll see it out. So that's a good sign.
Let's hope he's right on that one for a change.
Whenever I've got a job, I've always said, thank you very much. Don't know if I'll complete it, but we'll see how I go.
Well, what else has been going on?
Well, we're starting to get the ramp up for the games in Las Vegas, and it's a weird situation, the games in Las Vegas. I don't know what to think of any of that. There's been talk that they're going to get a TV deal out of it over in the US, but we'll wait and see. Like if you've been around long enough, you've seen these promises before, so we'll find out if it's all real or if it's bullshit.
Yeah, the TV deal thing just seems crazy. I mean, there's a Fox Sports over there.
Mm.
Why don't they just say, just tack this on the end somewhere? Like, it's going to be aired at like 3 a.m. over there. Just do that. You don't even have to try and get money out of it. Even sign up for, say, you can have it for 10 years for $1 million. Who cares? You don't need to try and get big money out of it. You just need that exposure. And if people start to like it, then you can start fucking around with kickoff times here. So it works still for the Australian and New Zealand audiences, but might start making it a little bit more accessible overseas.
Well, I just wonder what the end game is. Like
gambling.
And that's the thing. If that's the end game for it all, and the gambling revenue is actually have to put games over there in the teams over there in the United States, so they had relevant content for the local market there. But then how do you fold those teams into the NRL and have them playing every week with the travel? And
No. Do it like they do with the women's game. So instead of having, the women have all got teams that they've got exactly the same name as the NRL ones.
Mm-hmm.
Similar model over there, but you don't have, the New York fucking pizzerias or whatever it is. You give them a name that is linked with an NRL side in Australia, and the club is also linked with them, but they're based over there, and the NRL runs their competition. And I know they've got one over there at the moment, and they've got an organising body, but if you start putting the NRL in there, running it from scratch, that's how you do it. There's no other way you can do it. You can't take NRL clubs over there playing games over there all the time because it's just too fucking expensive.
But what if they don't want that?
I think that's the only way you're going to make it work. I think Americans are much more patriotic and they'd rather be supporting their own teams than foreign teams. That's why when they have the World Series or anything, they just go, fuck the rest of the world. It's just going to be our teams.
Yeah, well, that's my point. Like, so what is the NRL currently doing?
They're just setting it up. They're running the operating costs and whatnot in the early years. Get it all set up, get it running, back it, make sure it works, stick with it for as long as possible until it is up and running, and then set up a organisation there to run it. And the NRL is still their hierarchy.
But and here's the thing, like they've got a bunch of different...
In an ideal world, the International Rugby League would be the hierarchy, but... Well, I was going to say, like in an ideal world, the International Rugby League would be the hierarchy and they'd be running it, but we know that they're not doing anything enough and they don't have enough money to do that. So the NRL's got to step in and do that.
Well, the International Rugby League was recently giving governance advice to the United States Rugby League because... They needed it, apparently. I wouldn't have gone to the International Rugby League for it, but that's who they got it from. And there's different leagues over there, like, and they're regional-based competitions. And I don't know. I would just like to know what the big plan is. If it's for the NRL to have its own league that it runs over there, is it local players? Is it players from around the world? Is it Australian-based players? Is it is it an offshoot for like a second division competition that you run in the US? How do you fund it? Is it going to get traction? I don't know.
It'd be purely a American concept. But what we could have is instead of having Australian players going over to England and propping up their game, the players that are here that don't get signed to an NRL club or a New South Wales Queensland Cup club, they can go over and play in the American one.
I don't know that that's financially viable though for a player. I mean, because if you think, say you're a player that's not getting in an NRL team, so you're going to be earning less than the NRL minimum wage, which I believe is about $120,000, to go and play rugby league in the United States, right? But there's a lot of expenses that are involved in that. And I don't know that it's financially viable for a person to do that.
Is where the genius of the plan comes together.
Mm-hmm.
Anthony Albanese makes them the Australian ambassador for that club, and then they just get paid by the government.
Then it's all just strip clubs, from what I know about Australian ambassadors.
Fucking perfect. Hey, so we've also already got the cheer girls sorted out.
Far out. I don't know. I just wish that there was maybe they do have a plan in place. They're not talking about it. I just don't see what the plan is. I can understand if they said, look, we're trying to promote local rugby league. We're trying to promote rugby league in general. If they said we're putting on an event to try and earn money out of the single event and then we're going home, that would make more sense to me than the vague plans that they talk about. And, as we've said,
Are they not having a nines tournament over there?
The local players are having a nines tournament over that weekend, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's a good idea.
Yeah, it's a good idea, yeah. I don't know.
I'd like to see one or two local games being played as the warm-up act for the main game, for the NRL games, though.
I know, yeah, like in the stadium itself, that would have been good. Yeah. But my understanding is that they've been welcoming to local rugby league people that have wanted to put on events around the weekend, but that there won't be any games in the actual stadium, that they'll be held elsewhere. And look, I could be wrong about that, but that's the understanding that I have at the moment of the situation.
The only way any sport new sport in America is going to get a foothold is it needs to get itself either propped up by a more popular organisation in the same sport, so like the NRL, or it needs to attach itself to a very dominant already existing sport that's over there. That's how it's going to work. Otherwise, you're just going to have more of what they currently have, where they get some momentum, and then there's bickering, and then they split into two comps, and then it all falls apart, and then it starts up again, and then the cycle goes around circles.
Yeah, and it's happened so many times over there, unfortunately.
Got to stop, because all they've done is they've killed any momentum they keep building.
Yeah.
Think what they could have achieved by now if they had been a unified competition back in the 90s.
It's interesting that it keeps happening over and over again over there, and I don't understand why it keeps happening. My guess is that it's because you've got a few clubs over there that are stronger than everyone else, and I think that that some of those clubs just get upset with the management, and then they try and do something, and you get a split, and then they'll come back together, and then it happens again, and it's a weird situation. And the other thing that hurts them, I guess, is that because the United States is such a big country, that you can get strong pockets, or you get relatively strong pockets for the game over there that happen in different parts of their country that can have nothing to do with one another,
Yeah.
And be their own thing. So it'd be good if it all just settled down and they could all start working in the one direction together. But we'll wait and see. It's happened so many times. It's hard to put any faith that it's going to be right from now on. But hopefully it is.
I think too, when you've got a sport that's being developed in a country, the players who are playing it, they obviously want to be paid well. But if they can't get the money, then they want success. And that's what happens, is if they're not getting enough money, they'll go to the team that's winning all the time.
Yeah.
And so that's what tends to happen with that sort of stuff. Everyone starts moving to the same clubs.
Yeah.
So the strong club gets stronger and stronger and stronger, and the weak ones just get weaker, and then all of a sudden you've got this uneven comp with like one or two strong teams, and then all the other teams are all at the same level, and they're too far behind.
Yeah, and like over there, like the level of the game is, a very, very localized competition strength level over here. And it's run by people that absolutely love the game. They're playing this weird game no one else plays, that has these weird rules no one else understands, except for the people they're playing against. They're trying to play on the best grounds that they can get their hands on, which aren't very good. They're playing with the best equipment they can get, which in some cases is, it's not like it's all new equipment all the time. And so it's not like they don't love the game and they want to play rugby league and all that, but they are at a low level in terms of, not only their ability to play the game, but, how much is around that in terms of how much money you can get for a sponsorship and things like that. It's very, very localized. And, so they're doing their best over there. And I'm sure when they say the NRL go over there and want to play these games in Las Vegas, they've got a lot of hope that it's going to change things and push the game forward over there. I want to see it happen first. There's been so many promises before of games here and there, and it's going to kickstart this and kickstart that. I want to see it actually happen before I start talking about it, because there's been too many promises out of all sorts of rugby league organisations, including the NRL before.
Yes.
3 more years of PVL though. Hey, that's great.
He'll be there just in time for that TV rights deal to end. I just realised. So he'll be renegotiating that before he leaves.
He wouldn't be able to, really, would he?
He might be.
I think he will, but it really should be the TV rights deal that's negotiated by the next person that's in charge, really.
I wouldn't be surprised if he is suiting up for a much longer term than just 3 years, and he will do everything in his power to get the biggest TV rights deal he can there, and so he should.
Mm-hmm.
But he'll use that as justification to get a longer term in the role. I don't think he wants to leave in a hurry. That's the thing. He was running Racing New South Wales for a long time.
Yeah.
But it's only been since he's moved to the top job in the NRL that he's got some really big profile.
Yeah, and I think he likes
that.
Yeah.
No, I don't think he wants to leave that.
I wonder what his motivation would be, and if there's a chance for him to move into something else. And he'd be hard pressed to find a higher profile role in sport than being the head of the NRL or the Australian Rugby League. Really, technically, he's the chairman of the Australian Rugby League, not the NRL.
Yeah,
but I can't see him in a different role. Having a high profile outside
Prime Minister.
Hey,
Prime Minister.
Yeah, well, that's what I was about to say. Outside of going into politics, and that's a completely different thing altogether.
PVL.
Take him over the current fucking PM.
What political party would PVL be on? He'd make his own.
I wonder if we'd go for what's that one where it's like the horse racing? No, it's the Fishers, Shooters, and Horse Racing Party or something like that. I can't remember.
He can have his own one. The PVL Australia Party will look like Pavlova. Yeah, we're going to vote for Pavlova.
Listen, it would all come down, whether I voted for him or not, would all come down to how he eats a sausage sanger.
That's what matters.
Yeah.
Eat it properly, like an Australian,
mm-hmm.
and never, ever turn down anything that a lady from the CWA offers you.
Not once. Not even once.
Because if you do both those things wrong, you should be extradited to death.
She walks up to you with a crack pipe. You take a big fucking suck of that crack pipe.
And you say, is there seconds?
And you go,
you don't turn her down.
I love the Country Women's Association. Before we go, I want to talk about something that come into my my sphere. And you know how I like things in my sphere. But it's about the NBA and the situation the NBA is in at the moment. And I thought about how it relates to rugby league. So the NBA has a problem right now that its TV ratings for actual games for the NBA are not great. But its mentions on social media and people viewing highlights on YouTube and things like that are incredibly high, right?
Yep.
So they've got this league that has a very high profile that people talk about non-stop, that is very much in the sports psyche of people all over the world, that have some of the highest profile athletes in the world, some of the highest endorsements for athletes in the world, but people aren't watching their fucking games, right? And it's a weird situation that they're in. And so they're starting to talk about their TV ratings in a different way. Instead of talking about their actual TV ratings in a more traditional sense, they're talking about, views and things like that. Because
the overall with, all media combined.
Yeah. Because they kind of have to. Because if you just look at their TV ratings, the TV ratings are stagnant, especially compared to other sports in the US. And it made me think about rugby league in that we're kind of lucky that the games are actually viewed, right through. We're not a sport that needs to rely on all of the other stuff on top of that. And there was a guy that was on Bill Simmons' podcast this week, and he was talking about how his consumption of the NBA is very much podcasts and seeing highlights and things like that. but his viewership of actual NBA games is minute compared to that, like hundreds of times smaller compared to all of the other stuff. And that doesn't really translate for the NBA, unfortunately, into money in the NBA's pocket. Unless you start doing really specific sponsorship deals and advertising deals and stuff like that. But then you start thinking to yourself, well, what am I selling? Am I selling a sport or am I selling celebrity? And once again, I started to think about how the NBA sells its, how the NRL, sells itself, and that we're lucky that the sport, when you actually watch the games themselves, they are compelling to watch. You know, I don't think there's too many NRL people that follow the NRL that don't actually watch the games. It's something that people still do. But I thought it was a warning sign for the NRL that you can get yourself into this weird situation where you go beyond what the sport is and you end up with this thing where you've got to ask yourself, what is it that people are actually watching? Because they're not watching the sport. They're starting to watch all of the gossip and
I think I can explain where their issue is.
Yeah.
How many NFL games are there a year?
I see where you're going with it. So teams currently play 17 NFL games in a regular season, and then they play a pretty short playoff series.
Yeah, and how many NBA games are there in a season?
82 games.
So that's the thing. Each game on its own means fucking nothing to the casual viewer.
Yeah,
because
that's
you
true.
can lose your third game of the year. It's not going to impact your season. You've got another 70 games to fucking play.
Yeah, true.
So, and that's the problem. It's the same problem that English Rugby League has had. If you give people too many games, then you devalue each game on its own. And so the season has too many games. They need to wind it back. If they had fewer games, then each game has more importance, which means you're going to want to watch it more. You're going to want to go to it more. That's the problem they've got. That's why the NFL is not having any of this issue.
Yeah.
The season is just the perfect length. It's fair enough so that everyone gets to go through the usual form, dips and whatnot goes on through a season. Mm-hmm. They get to build a bit of a run. They've got a decent final series. It's not overly complicated. It's not drawn out. And the Super Bowl is the biggest sporting event in the world.
Yeah, probably is still.
Like year on year out.
Year on year, yeah. It makes me think about then like the ideal number of games for, say, an NRL season, which I think in an ideal world I'd probably land on 20 to 22.
Yeah, I think when we've got to the situation now where we have 17 teams, and I think if the NRL was smart and they want to continue expanding, then they've got to stop thinking that we need to have 24 rounds. They need to think that we need to make sure everyone plays each other once.
Yeah.
Right? And then we can still have our top 8 final series. And it's not going to hurt you too much if you make the season a little bit shorter, because what you then allow is for standalone rep weekends, more rep football, which gives those games also extra emphasis because you get to see it in more of the regular season. It's got a flow-on effect, and you're not going to be losing that many games at the moment. But it's going to be 8 rounds. But if you put 3 rep rounds in for Origin, you're only down 5 weeks now. You can put internationals in there as well at the end of the year.
Mm-hmm.
You're almost finishing at the same point every year. And you can start the season a bit later, so when it's a little bit cooler, not when it's in the heat still.
Yeah.
It wouldn't hurt the game too severely. And I think that's the problem with the NBA is that they play just so many games that no one game on its own is all that important until you get to the playoffs. And even then, the playoffs is so long because, was it best of 5?
No, it's best of 7 in all rounds. Yeah, it used to be best of 5 for the first round of the playoffs, right. And they extended that because obviously they make more money out of more games. But and I know as an NBA fan, like part of me does really value the records of the 82 game season. But I think in the modern day, and I think you're right that it probably should be about a 65 game season, and which is funnily enough the cutoff point where you've got to play 65 games now to be eligible for all of the awards and stuff these days now. They changed that last year. But I think 65 games is probably an ideal number for them to make the games actually matter again. But then, like, it makes me think about how you can schedule those games. And then I think about cutting down the number of games we have in an NRL season, I start thinking about how you could schedule games and how you can add more teams to the league so that, I don't know, how many games do we play now at the moment? Is it 360 games in an NRL season?
It's 200 and something.
Okay, so let's say 250 is a round number, okay? Just pull a number out. So say there's 250 games in a season. If we cut back the number of rounds to a 20-round competition, you could make up the games that you've lost by having expansion clubs. So you've got more. So you'd have the same number of games actually being played, but you'd have more teams to play them across. So you wouldn't lose out in your TV deals and stuff like that. And I think that's where we'll end up down the road, hopefully, and that's where you can end up having teams from wherever the hell you want. Like you could have a team in France, you could have teams in England, you could have teams in the United States, because you're going to have more days between games for clubs. You're going to be able to travel to places like that and it not be a problem. Whereas at the moment, you've got 5 to 6 days really to get your team where it needs to be to play a game.
Yeah.
And I just think it's things like that the people running the game of rugby league need to think about where the sport is headed and what you want to happen with the sport and what you don't want to happen with the sport. Because I think where the NBA is right now, in some ways it's great. If I say LeBron James, people know who I'm talking about. But if I say to you that he was going to go to Golden State, but then LeBron said he didn't want to go to Golden State at the trade deadline, people know what I'm talking about. But then if I said, how many LeBron James games have you actually watched this year from start to finish, the number of people that have actually watched one of his games this year is minute compared to the number of people that know who he is. And that's a weird place to be in.
It is. And it's not a horrible situation the NBA is in, because the fact that, and I mean, the one thing that drew me to this conclusion very quickly was the fact that people are watching highlights and they're watching the videos on YouTube more than anywhere else.
Mm-hmm.
Tells you that they're bored with watching so much NBA content. They just want to get all the information they need from a quick hit, and that's it. So they've taken the value out of each game. That's what they've done. And
that's a problem, because the value of the games that people watch from start to finish are where they get the majority of their money from. And when people are starting to switch that off and just rely on the highlights, you do have a problem you need to address. And I would hate for rugby league to ever get into that situation, because the NBA's kind of fallen into it, and they're going to have to figure out a way to get people going back to watching games again. And it's an interesting situation. And as always, when I see another sport in a certain situation, I line it up against what's happening in rugby league, because obviously rugby league's my favorite sport. And it's interesting because the way that people watch sport and where you watch sport and how you watch it, like, it's changing very quickly. And I just hope that the people running the game are on top of it.
Absolutely. And look, I think the thing that the NRL could learn from the NBA is, don't be afraid to let people to share your content around on YouTube.
Yeah.
The NRL is so scared about it. Like they block anyone who's sharing their content and stuff. They just let it go. It's promotional. It's promotional work that you don't have to pay for.
I think that there's got to be a good compromise between, like, obviously the NRL doesn't want people putting full games on YouTube because that undermines the product and it undermines how much they can get out of the TV deals. But I think that, highlight packages and stuff like that, when it's used reasonably, I think that's fine. Like, if you get somebody talking about, game footage and they can show a highlight of a try or something, I think that that's okay. And I think if the NRL put out guidelines, if they put out strict guidelines, like if they said you can't put out highlight packages until a week after the game has been played. It's not ideal, but I think more people would be like, okay, at least we know where we stand. So they do have to improve in that area. That's for certain.
Yeah, you can't just control all your information anymore.
No.
Because the best way you get information around nowadays is by just letting the fans do it. Word of mouth. Yeah. Nothing beats it. It's still the best advertising method you'll get.
Yeah, I agree. And, we're still in a situation where it's harder to watch an NRL game than it should be. And I just think about it this way. I go off of KO as soon as the season ends. I get rid of it. And I would love to be able to watch it through my Xbox, and I can't. And I'd love to be able to watch it through all sorts of, things that I'm signed up with, and I can't because KO is so restrictive about what they'll actually allow themselves to be carried on. And that's a problem for getting the game into people's lounge rooms. And I say that as someone that lives in Sydney.
Oh, right. It was only a few years ago where it was actually possible for someone living in the Philippines to watch State of Origin live. It was easier for them to do that than it was for someone in Melbourne to do that.
Yeah, and that's crazy.
We only had one method, and that was through Channel 9, and they would put on other programming before the Origin game, and we could not go anywhere to watch the game live.
Yeah.
So we had to just turn off phones, not go on social media, and then watch the game an hour after it kicked off.
Mm-hmm.
Stupid.
Yeah.
I'm glad it's changed now, but it shows you, though, that having too many restrictions in place, it can have the effect of driving people away.
Especially if you've got people that are ready to pay for it too.
Yeah.
Like if you've got a customer and they're like, I'm ready to rock and roll, and you say, well, we'd love you to watch our product, but. And it's like eventually someone's going to go and do something else.
Yeah.
And you've got to be very careful about that.
I will go to what's accessible.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, we've covered quite a bit here.
We have, yeah. We go all over the place with our podcast. It's great.
Did you see there's like 337 races in the Formula One season this year?
No, really? What's going on?
Oh, mate, they've got tons of. They've got another racetrack that they're building in. Can't remember where.
The People's Republic of somewhere.
Oh, it's a stupid looking track too.
How many races are they having this year? Is it 20 or?
It's over 20.
No way.
Let me have a look.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I'm not too sure if too many of the fans are aware, but Freaky and I do like the F1.
Yeah.
Let's have a look. There's 24 races this year.
No way. That's insane.
First race is the 2nd of March.
I think 18's the right number for a season. And that's a long season. That's like a complete full season is 18.
So it now goes from the 2nd of March to the 8th of December.
Wow, December racing. Oh, my God.
And let this sink in. The last race is on the 8th of December in Abu Dhabi.
Oh, man, that's insane.
How long will those tyres last?
Wow, that's so crazy. I would never think an Formula One season would ever go into December. That's crazy.
It's nuts.
Yeah. Holy crap. Look, that's what happens when you run by a private company. They can do stuff like that.
Yes. It's a mad season.
Yeah. Drivers will not like that. And then someone will point to their bank accounts and they'll shut the fuck up.
Well, the other thing is Lewis Hamilton's obviously already gone to Ferrari for next year.
Yep.
So that's that. And what else is there? I think there's only eight drivers who are contracted beyond this year. So it's going to be an insane season for driver movement.
Well, isn't this the last year of the current cars and then next year they're going to change to a new set of regulations. Is that right?
Correct, yeah.
Yeah, so there's a lot of shifting that's going to go on there. It's going to be, I tell you what, if they're going to end up with long seasons like that, there's not going to be very much time for car development at all over the off season. And I think you'll end up with more teams that will say, okay, we're going to develop this car until, say, April, and then it's all going into next year's car. And so you're going to have teams that are going to have seasons that they ride off.
Oh, yeah. They'll even get to the point where they'll be, after 16 races, if they go, right, we are completely out of this, just to ban this season, we start development for next year.
Yeah.
And they'll be doing it during races and stuff. It's going to reduce the quality of some of the races at the back end of the season.
Yeah, and that's the thing. And then all of us, like 8 races is that? Who wants to watch that sort of racing? It reminds me of and we've seen that happen before already in the past, but you didn't have 8 more races to go or 10 more races to go while that was going on.
No, it's crazy.
Yeah, I don't like that as an F1 fan at all. That's terrible.
But we'll check that out. That's going to be interesting.
Yeah. Remember when we were talking about we could do an F1 podcast? Imagine thinking that you were going to go from fucking March to December.
I never would have thought that we'd have as many F1 rounds as we do NRL ones.
Yeah, you're right. Holy crap.
Every NRL team plays 24 rounds.
We can start lining up F1 stats against rugby league ones. Like, who's better, Ferrari or Penrith?
Oh. Now you've got me distracted. I'll be doing that shit for the next few months.
Yeah, I just ruined stuff for you. Who's better?
That's right.
Who's better? Who's had a better 3 years, Red Bull or Penrith? That's a pretty close run thing, eh?
I think I might have actually looked at that.
Yeah, fucking weirdo.
It's all right. I just live for stats.
Oh shit, that's funny.
Forward deep in stats for the last several months, and yeah, plenty of good data coming out soon from RLP.
Mm-hmm.
We'll just leave it at that.
I'm looking forward to seeing it.
Keep everyone salivating.
Yeah.
Has there been anything else? Actually, briefly, we did have some results. Let's quickly go through the trial results because they don't require any great information.
Yeah.
Let's have a looky. So we had Bulldogs beat the Storm 24-12. Knights beat the Sharks 44-18. Roosters beat Manly 36-22. Raiders beat the Eels 38-16 at Cogra.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. South beat the Dragons 28-6 at Cogra. That would be the Charity Shield.
That's had such a low profile the last few years, hey?
It has, yeah.
It's crazy.
The Tigers beat everyone 18-16. Broncos beat the Cowboys 46-20, and the Dolphins beat the Titans 26-14. That was last week.
Mm-hmm.
I know the week before Manly flogged someone, which is a sign that they've won the title as well this year. Because
I think that was just an opposed session behind closed doors, though.
It doesn't matter. That's basically a grand final replay right there. And Luke Brooks, man of the match, they've already made a statue for him. They'll put the statue on top of the part of Brookvale Oval where the Bears jumper is.
Oh, nice. That'll be good.
So that'll cancel each other out.
Yeah, that'll be good. Like we've talked about this before, the only don't worry about the score lines, but you don't want your team to get flogged and then flogged again, because that's never normally a good sign in a trial match. Like I
was going to say, what you really want out of a trial match is you want to play against one strong team and one weak team. So you get a chance to test yourself against a good side, but also check your progress and your systems against a weaker side. Yeah,
get some Ks into your legs.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. It's like the results don't matter whatsoever, but you don't want to get... I've never seen a team in trial matches of any kind, and this is in rugby league and even in the NBA where they have preseason games, where a team gets absolutely flogged during the preseason and then they're really, really good. It's normally not a great sign when you're getting flogged back to back to back.
That's right. So what do we got here? Starting this weekend, we've got a double header at Belmore on Friday night. Rabbitohs Roosters and Sharks Bulldogs.
Mm-hmm.
Saturday, we've got Storm Knights, Warriors Dolphins, Manly Broncos, and Dragons Tigers at Mudgee. On Sunday, the Raiders play Cowboys at Seaford Oval.
Oh, yes, Seaford Oval, that was where they played their first game, wasn't it?
That's right, their first home ground.
Yep.
Where Balmain dominated the Raiders. I don't think Balmain ever lost there.
Oh, there you
So
go.
the West Tigers should make that their new home ground.
Why not?
All I do is solve problems here.
That was what Pascoe was trying to do, but people were standing on his toes, Andrew.
All that authority was in his way.
Yeah.
You think you're at the top of the tree, and then you look up and you just see Everest next to you, and you're like, oh, fuck.
You think you're the CEO, you know.
It even says it on that little steel thing on the front of your desk.
When you walk up to your fucking demountable on a Monday and you walk up to it and you put the keys in the door, it says CEO on the door, and you think you're in charge, but you're not really.
Even though your key unlocks the door and you go in. CEO written on the little thing on the front there. You look on your signature and your email, CEO, you're like.
Maybe instead, like it wasn't the letter CEO, it was like CSEE or SEA, and then EEEE, and then like YOO. So as a CEO.
Maybe just a DOPE.
Oh, shit.
It's close. It's letters.
Yeah.
Yeah. Go give away another jumper, Pasco. And on
look,
the last
I went
game
to a sponsor.
What's the thing? Have the Tigers got a sponsor this year?
I haven't heard that they've got a new one.
Okay. The hat hasn't taken his bat and ball yet.
I'm not sure. I just thought he had.
I kind of hope he does. No, they're still on the jumper.
Okay. Look, that's fine. If he's kept it there,
I'd get rid of it.
You just do it. You just hand his money back.
I'm happy to put my hand up and say, no, I'll give the Tigers $17 this year.
Yeah.
To have Rugby League Project on the front of the jumper.
Yeah.
And I'll give them another $17 to put Fergo and the Freak on the back.
Oh, nice.
Because, to be honest, I should have to pay probably $20 for the one on the back because that's going to get seen more.
I wonder how much people pay for those for the logos on the back of the jersey.
The one on the front's a few $100,000 every year.
Yeah, it's a whack.
The back ones wouldn't be cheap. The big one at the back at the top would be pretty pricey.
Imagine winning Lotto and going to a club and saying, listen, I want to buy the entire jersey, all of the logos, and then putting like emojis on it.
Or just have a company name like Dildo or something like that.
Can I just say, listen, if me and Andrew ever win Powerball, the Manly Seagulls are fucked. We're going to fuck with that club. We're going to buy it. We're going to move it. We're going to do all sorts of terrible shit to that team.
What did we discuss?
We were talking about moving them to play at North Sydney Oval as their home ground.
and putting home of the Manly Seagulls all around the North Sydney Oval.
Yeah.
That's right.
Like we'll do some fucked stuff, and the reason we pick Manly is because it'd be the cheapest one to buy.
Oh, easy.
Yeah. So I don't think we're just picking on Manly because
we just don't want to spend all of our money.
Yeah, we would just
put a statue of Bob Fulton outside North Sydney Oval.
Who would be a statue of Brett Camorley.
Ooh.
In a Northern Eagles jersey.
Even better. Over the main stand there. Just call it the rainfall stand.
Why
just to remind them of what happened to Gosford.
Oh shit. You just have a sprinkler going on at 20%.
That's an idea. Put a soaker hose across the top of it so you just hear the rain coming down on the top of the roof.
Just non-stop terrible things would happen to that club, and people would be like, how can they do this to a club? And it's like, well, they own it.
We would let it fail, though.
How did they? Yeah, that's true. Well, like the values are going to be in the license eventually because you're just going to destroy whatever's left.
That's right. Oh, that would be so much fun. The other thing I'd do is I'd probably buy the West Magpies and just paint the white stripe orange.
I was just thinking with the Manly jersey playing out of North Sydney Oval. I'm not going to say anything else other than saying pure rainbow.
Oh yeah, that's got to be the case.
Yeah,
it's got to be
complete rainbow jersey every week.
That's the way to do it.
Be great. They'd love it.
They'll need an alternative jumper, so that one can be red and black.
Yeah, that sounds like a good compromise.
But still with the seagull on the breast. We don't want the bear on there.
No, you want to anger as many people as possible.
That's right. Oh, that's got to happen. If you do win the lotto, and you find that you've got too much money, and you want to have a bit of a laugh, get in touch, and we'll definitely help. Yeah, we won't put it to good use. We'll put it to amusing use just for the rest of the NRL fans because that's what we're here for. We're here to amuse and entertain.
We will literally destroy the value of the club that you decide to purchase, but we'll have fun doing it.
Yeah, and it doesn't have to be Manly. Any club you like. We can find ways to make any club miserable.
Yeah, but wouldn't it be funny if it was Manly?
Oh, Manly would be great.
Fucking hilarious.
And on that note, people, thanks for listening. Make sure you check us out on YouTube. Like and subscribe to all the videos over there. Leave some comments over there because we need to get back to doing reading out comments on episodes. Yeah. So leave some comments over there because you're not doing it anywhere else. God damn it, people. Do some work. And we'll check you all out next time.